The ideas I come up with for Season 4 of MLP are kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's a lot of fun creating stories that add more depth to the characters that we have come to enjoy so much. On the other hand, talking about all these ideas for future episodes just makes me want Season 4 to come all that much sooner. And then realizing that we still have several months to go before that will happen. But even though it's a bit of a downer thinking about how long we still have to wait, I do enjoy putting together these ideas and then hearing how others start getting their own creative works going because of those ideas. So with that in mind, I began thinking about Fluttershy's character. What would I like to see in her future? How can we add more depth to her character? We have seen Fluttershy spending her time caring for those who are unable to care for themselves. We've seen the good influence that she spreads to her friends. We have seen her overcome some tremendous struggles. And we've seen how much her kindness can touch those who have never had a friend before. Fluttershy has accomplished some very impressive feats in her episodes. And to be honest, it's kind of hard trying to think of something that would top reforming the Spirit of Chaos. Where can Fluttershy go from here? Well, perhaps we shouldn't be thinking about a new kind of struggle that Fluttershy deals with in the future. Perhaps we should be looking for something that Fluttershy already has to struggle with. Things that have yet to be explained. And I can think of a few aspects of Fluttershy's character that could have some potential, or at the very least satisfy my curiosity about some of her quirks. First off, we have Fluttershy's natural ability to communicate with animals, and even how animals seem naturally drawn towards Fluttershy. This is certainly nothing new, as we have already seen the first moments when Fluttershy discovered this ability. But I still have a few questions about some of the deeper meanings behind this. To begin with, there are times when I feel puzzled about Angel Bunny's behavior. It seems rather obvious that Angel is quite a bit more intelligent than the standard bunny. His first appearance was in the Ticketmaster, and he showed himself to be quite helpful in his own little way there. But there are several other cases where Angel has proven himself to be highly disagreeable, even to the point of being spoiled. Most notably, we have the cases of DRWolf, where he refuses to eat just because Fluttershy is telling him what to do. And then in Just for Sidekicks, he is able to evade Spike more than once, even managing to make it all the way to the Crystal Empire by train. The most distressing example of all, though, is in Putting Your Hoof Down, when he completely rejects Fluttershy's efforts to please him just because it isn't to his exact specifications. Angel seems to have a consistent mindset of getting things his way, or putting up a fuss until others give in. And what makes this all the more puzzling is the fact that out of all the animals that Fluttershy cares for, Angel is the one who seems to be the favored pet. Fluttershy spends more time caring for him than any other animal, but why would she do this? I suppose that you could make the argument that given Angel's behavior, he is the one who needs the most nurturing in order to improve his attitude. And that would certainly fit with what we know about Fluttershy. However, I'm not so convinced. I believe that there is more going on here than what we have seen. There is a time in MLP when Fluttershy seems completely unlike anything we have seen of her before, or even since, where the kindness that is such an integral part to her character seems to have just disappeared. Early on in Season 1, Fluttershy tells us that she dreams of attending the Grand Galloping Gala, not to take part in the gala itself, but rather to enjoy the gardens that will be filled with all manner of exotic animals during the celebration. Given how much Fluttershy enjoys spending time with her own animals, this kind of dream makes a lot of sense. However, when she arrives at the gala and attempts to call the animals to her with her usual calm and gentle demeanor, none of them want to come. At first, Fluttershy is puzzled. This kind of thing has never happened to her before. She becomes increasingly frustrated as the night drags on, while the animals become even more afraid of her presence there. This actually leads to Fluttershy having a bit of a mental break, as she begins laughing maniacally during her attempts to simply capture the animals in a net. And after this fails and the animals are running amok, Fluttershy shouts something that completely surprised me.
You're going to love me!
You're going to love me? Where did that come from? Why would Fluttershy be so upset by these animals running away from her? She has countless animals back at her home who already adore her for all the care that she provides. But then I began to wonder, what if in that moment she wasn't talking to the animals? What if this mental break had caused something deep within Fluttershy to suddenly burst out without warning? Something that lay far in her past that she had been trying to bury within herself. When we take a look back into Fluttershy's past, we can see that she has memories of other Pegasi children putting her down because of her weak flying skills. And that was something that had deeply troubled Fluttershy for many years. But what if there was more to it than that? What if it wasn't just the other Pegasi children who were putting her down, but someone else even closer to her? I've mentioned before that throughout the entirety of MLP, we have never seen anyone related to Fluttershy. What if there was actually a reason that Fluttershy doesn't interact with her family? What if Fluttershy had been ostracized by someone in her family due to her failings as a Pegasus? If this turned out to be the case, then it would help explain a lot about some of Fluttershy's mannerisms. Like, part of the reason why she spends so much of her time with her animals is because she wants others to love her unconditionally, as opposed to the less than ideal circumstances of her upbringing. It would also help explain why she seemed to have a mental break during the gala. Fluttershy had been hoping for so long to make some new animal friends during that evening, and ended up being rejected by them. And this was something that Fluttershy seemed completely unable to accept. This shows us that Fluttershy has this deep-rooted need to feel loved by others. And if she had been deprived of that love during her childhood, then it would make a whole lot of sense that she would center so much of her life around caring for others. Her kindness wouldn't just be about showing compassion to others and spreading happiness, but also because she remembers what it felt like when others did not show love for her. This would add a great deal of depth to Fluttershy's character, and even explain why she is willing to put up with Angel's stubborn and spoiled behavior. And come to think of it, this would also help explain a great deal about why Fluttershy was willing to put up with Discord as well. Why Celestia had so much faith in Fluttershy with reforming Discord. Why Fluttershy was so patient and tolerant of Discord despite his constant attempts to show her that he had no intention of being reformed. At least in part, it would be because Fluttershy knew what it felt like to have no one love you. This kind of backstory would give me a lot more respect for Fluttershy's character, even more than I do now. But even with how much I would love to see this in a future episode, I have to admit that there are problems with this kind of story. It would be very, very tricky for the writers to put this into MLP. Much like with the fact that they would have a lot of trouble putting in anything having to do with the death of Applejack's parents, so too would making a story about Fluttershy's tragic upbringing be very difficult to pull off. There are limits to the kinds of things that they can put into a children's cartoon show. But we have been surprised by some of the things that the writers have come up with before. They have managed to exceed our expectations more than once. And with the proper care, I believe it would be possible to tell a story about Fluttershy's past that would show us a lot more depth to her character, while still being the kind of story that could potentially be put into MLP. What do you think? Would this kind of story element work on a show like MLP? Do you think that there is a deeper reason for Fluttershy's kindness than what we have already seen? Would you have any more respect for Fluttershy if she had this kind of story in her past? I would like to hear your thoughts about these story ideas, or perhaps even if you have something else that might help explain why Fluttershy has become the element of kindness. I may come up with some ideas of my own, but I do want to encourage the creativity of others as well. Let me know what you think. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.